A judge is going to hear Lisa Cook's lawsuit against President Trump. The Federal Reserve Board of Governors and Chair Jerome Powell. Joining us right now is former Assistant Attorney General Jonathan Kanter. He's a CNBC contributor, distinguished law professor at Washington University in St. Louis. You've now read the filing yesterday, Jonathan. I want to get your impressions of the strength of that case and how you think all this may play out.
Yeah, so there's going to be a hearing this morning. She is seeking a temporary restraining order and an injunction, essentially to keep everything in place so that she can hold her job while this legal drama plays out in court. Her arguments are exactly what we expected, which is that the president didn't have adequate cause to remove her, that it was just pretext, the mortgage issue was just pretext, and that he's really removing her because he wants to lower interest rates and has a policy disagreement. To support her argument that it's pretext, Governor Cook argues that nobody ever even picked up the phone to call her or her attorneys to ask for an explanation as to why the mortgage documents appear the way they do. But instead, they denied her, she argues, due process and went ahead and removed her without any investigation or inquiry into the matter.
What is your thought, just more broadly? There's the court case, and then there is the court of public opinion. And one of the things in this document, you had suggested when we last spoke that you thought there was going to be some kind of defense or explanation of what took place with these two mortgages. There really was not. There was maybe a reference in one place to a clerical error, another place they used the word ERRED, E-R-R-E-D. And I just wonder whether ultimately, not that she might not get a stay temporarily, but longer term, what this does just to the credibility of the Fed without going out there and saying, look, here was the mistake, or here's whatever it was, if that's the case. Because there have been situations where Fed governors have stepped away for doing things that may not have been illegal, but maybe people thought were wrong.
Yeah, that's a political question, and it's a fair political question. And so I think the public will likely demand more information about what happened here to assess whether she's fit to continue service. I think her argument is that this was a referral, a criminal referral to the Department of Justice, and that criminal referral is now serving as the basis for her removal, and that denies her of due process, and it violates the Fed statute, which requires sufficient cause to remove her from office. Now, the interesting part about this, Andrew, is that to get to the bottom of this, to answer these questions, it will require an evidentiary hearing in court. And what that means is testimony from people, not just Governor Cook, but in the administration, internal documents and as part of discovery to understand exactly what the motivations were behind her removal. So if this moves forward with an evidentiary hearing, it actually could be quite the spectacle and give us a rare glimpse into how the decision was made here to remove her in the first place.
Jonathan, real quick, there was a very interesting legal maneuver here, which was that she didn't just sue the president who fired her. She sued Jay Powell and as a named defendant, and also sued the board. And the question among some lawyers is, did she do that to effectively protect them from potential charges, or if the president decided to, quote unquote, fire them for cause, meaning other board members or Powell for cause, this way they're technically aligned, if you will, with the president?
Yeah, so I do view it as protecting the Fed, but probably for a different reason. The Fed is caught between a rock and a hard place. It probably takes the view legally that the president did not have sufficient cause to remove Governor Powell. On the other hand, it has this instruction from the president of the United States to remove her. They're caught between a rock and a hard place. And what's best for the Fed and frankly for the country is to get this dispute in front of a court and have a judge issue an order so that the Fed can follow that order. So I think by naming the Fed and Chairman Powell, Governor Cook is actually doing us all a favor, which is letting this get sorted out in an orderly fashion as opposed to having this dispute between the one legal interpretation by the Fed's lawyers and the president's instruction to remove Governor Cook.
Jonathan, I'm curious, how challenging is it to actually prosecute mortgage application fraud? I know no charges have been filed against Lisa Cook at this point in time, but how important is intent and how hard is it to prove intent when it comes to mortgage fraud? And is that why we don't see so many of these types of cases?
That's exactly right. We don't see a lot of these cases on a standalone basis. You will see mortgage fraud and other kinds of fraud brought as part of a broader pattern of illegal conduct or fraudulent conduct. To bring a criminal fraud case, the Justice Department would have to establish that she had the intent to defraud the bank. And so a clerical error, or perhaps if somebody at the lender indicated that what she was putting on the application was okay, that would mean you could not convict for fraud. Frankly, as these kinds of cases and prosecutions are extraordinarily rare on a standalone basis, in part because it's difficult to prove intent, juries are reluctant to put people in prison for what they view as clerical errors, and courts rarely would give jail time or other kinds of significant penalties. So in the absence of a broader pattern of fraudulent conduct, it is extraordinarily rare to see anybody prosecuted simply for filling out a mortgage application incorrectly. Now, that's distinct from the court of public opinion, as Andrew mentioned. It might cause people to question whether she's still fit to do her job, but that's separate from the legal question as to whether she committed fraud.